Hello everyone! Well, in today's lesson, we will finally begin transferring our photograph. Step by step, square by square, we will transfer our photo onto a sheet of paper. In the end, you might be a little surprised by the result. But don't worry, I assure you, everything is going according to plan. So, are you ready? Let's get started. Before we begin, I want to explain how I made the calculations in this video. Imagine this is part of our photo, and next to it is our sheet of paper where we are drawing. For example, you want to know at which point the line of the cheek intersects with one of the sides of the square. How do we divide this square? We can divide it in half. Suppose the line that crosses the square doesn't go exactly into the half. Then we divide that half again into halves, which will be 1/4. If even that is too much, we divide again into halves, and that will be 1/8. And if 1/8 is still too large, for example, as you can see in the case where the line of the neck intersects the lower part of the square, we divide it again into halves, and half of 1/8 becomes 1/16. In some cases, it will be easier to divide the square into 3 equal parts, and one of those parts will make up 1/3. In this way, we will be making these calculations throughout the entire drawing. Now, let's begin. So, dear friends, in this lesson, we will do the following. We will need to transfer our image onto a sheet of paper. I advise you, if you are working at an easel, to fix your sheet of paper with masking tape. If you are working on an ordinary table, I recommend placing a spare sheet of paper under your hand to prevent smudging or smearing the lines, and to keep the work clean. If you need to move, you lift the sheet, shift it to another spot, and continue working in that area. So, you will need a pencil, 2H, and here's what we do. We mark the main areas. Don't press hard on the pencil, use light lines. For now, we roughly sketch the placement of the facial features. We'll mark where the head begins, where the chin ends, the eyes, the nose, the mouth, and so on. Let's start with the general shape of the head. The top point, the point where the hair begins, is in square A6. We find A6 on our drawing, and you see that if we divide this square in half, it will be 1/4. Approximately at 1/4 of A6, we mark the top of the head. Next, we mark where the chin is located. The chin is in square A6 and drops down vertically. It slightly goes into square B8. So, we look at A6, go down, and there's B8. We gently mark here. These will be rough guidelines, because in the end, we will refine everything, bring out the tones, draw the details, and make corrections. For now, the most important task is to roughly transfer the main facial features. We can start from the points we have marked. Let's go, for example, from the chin. Here, at this square, at the point where 4 squares intersect, the chin also crosses. From that line, we draw a light line continuing the chin. Next, we look at the following square. The chin goes further and ends at about 1/3 of the square. Halfway, somewhere around here. We connect this line, not straight, but with a slight curve. When you are drawing, always try to compare with the photo. Train your eye. We will correct everything later. Then the chin continues into the next square, again, going about 1/3 into it. Don't press hard, don't make strong strokes, just light movements. Next comes the jaw. It will end at this point, approximately here, in this square. And here we have a cheek. At this stage, the cheek line looks a bit curved, while here it's straighter. That's fine. We'll fix it when we check proportions. So here's the cheek and the jaw, but part of it isn't visible because of the grid. Later, when we start placing shadows, we'll use a version of the photo without the grid to see better. For now, we can roughly see that the ear starts almost in the middle of the square. We mark it around here, and it stops just before the edge of the square. Now let's sketch this part of the face. The chin line ends at about 1/4 of this square. That is half plus a quarter, right here. We continue the line. Then it moves into the upper square. Again, about 1/4 of it. That means half and then a quarter, around here. We keep drawing. Next comes a wavy line that finishes at 1/3 of this square. You can always check with the photo, but we move step by step, so no need to constantly refer to the numbers. That would be along the lower edge of the square, about 1/3. Let's say here. We draw an arc, first slightly convex, then continuing the chin. Next comes the beginning of the cheek, which ends almost in the middle, just slightly higher, about here. This method of drawing trains your eye. Next, here we have 1/4, then half, then it shifts outwards. The cheek goes this way. It ends almost in the middle, slightly to the right, so we draw another wavy line, since that's how the contour goes. I just want to explain the principle in case you don't see it very well. I hope you understand what the principle of transfer is. Here we have the eye. Vertically, it starts at 1/4 and then comes the eyelid. So we extend the line to 1/4. Then, at the end of the square, the hair begins and the face disappears. So we transition into the hair. Let's mark where this strand is. So this is the same square. It starts at about 1/3 of the square, here. It ends almost in the middle. just a little left of center. It goes at an angle, so we don't draw a strict line, just sketch it roughly. The eyelid goes under this strand, so we'll use the strand as a guide, roughly in the middle, slightly above, around here. This line won't be visible in the end because it falls in shadow. When we work on the shading and tones, it will blend smoothly. Next, we outline the strand. It curves upwards, starting at our mark and ending right at the middle of the square. We make this arc. Then it goes almost to the edge of the square, approximately here. Into the next one. Don't worry about being 100% precise. It's not a printer, it's a drawing, and it will always differ slightly. A millimeter or two off doesn't matter. The important thing, especially with hair, is to be precise with the eyes and the main features, so the face looks recognizable. This strand of hair ends here. Now let's continue drawing the left side. Starting from the top where we marked the hairline, at the edge of square A6. And it will be somewhere, let's say, 1/3. Something like that. There's a wave. It ends near the edge of square A5. So here we draw an almost straight line. Next, into the following square. The line enters slightly here, ending about 1/3 across. Then moving down, it ends at the intersection of squares. It ends at about 1/4 of the next square. If here we have a half, then it's about 1/4. And so we keep drawing the outline, moving from square to square. Here's the middle, slightly to the right, so we draw here. The next line is again slightly to the right of center, about the same level, almost straight. And then the line continues almost straight down. This is opposite the square with the cheek, about the middle here. Slightly widening out, then narrowing. A small wave. Here the shoulder begins. We'll extend the hair roughly to the middle here. Now let's outline this strand, so it'll be easier to find later. It begins at eye level along this lower line, around here. Squares B4 and A4 at the edge. Then it curves down between the hairline and the square's edge. So here, we connect, and you can see it's almost straight. Then a semicircle, almost reaching the edge of the square. Next, it shifts slightly here, that's 1/4 of this square, around here. Then it flows into the massive hair, about 1/3 here. That should be enough. Let's mark the shoulders. This will be the second to last square from the bottom. Our grid ended up a bit longer, more squares below than in the photo. That's okay. We'll either extend or fade it smoothly later. Here, in the middle of the square, that's 1/4, so 1/8 here. That's where the shoulder is. Then it moves into the middle of this square, almost triangular, but that's just distortion from the grid. Then it goes further. It's not visible here, but probably about 1/3. This part isn't important for the portrait, so we can experiment. The hair also continues downward. Now let's work on the right side. Let's draw this part, beginning with the hairline. We won't draw this too carefully because it's a soft line that will be defined later with shading. We just lightly mark its path. It starts where the strand meets the edge of the square. So here. The lower part will be at 1/4 of the square, almost in the middle, around here. Then it shifts toward the edge here. Again, about 1/4. The parting ends around the middle of this square, right here. Lightly sketch it, don't press hard. We may erase this later when we do shading. Next, the top of the head is in square A7, going almost to the middle. In square A8, slightly lower. Here, it also ends near the middle of the bottom edge of the square. Then again, almost in the middle, slightly above. In A9, B1, about 1/3. These are approximations. We'll correct them later. Next, the line ends near the middle, slightly more than 1/4. slightly less than 1/4. Then the middle, 1/3. The next point is almost in the middle, slightly more. Then 1/4. Then the edge of the square. Then 1/3. And again 1/3. Then we keep extending. Let's draw this part, the parting. We see faintly some hair or shadow here. Vertically, it's in the middle. Horizontally, about 2/3. Don't press hard. It will be refined later with tones. This strand goes to the center of this square, here. Then it flows into the mass of hair, about 1/3 of the square. Here we see a shadow. This is part of the parting continuing. Horizontally, it's in the center. Vertically, about 1/4. So, square A7 at 1/4 and the center, right here. Then it goes upward, partly left. Let's mark these points to connect. Horizontally, just left of center. Vertically, exactly center. We take the center of the square, shift slightly left, and connect. Downward, it goes almost to the edge of the intersecting squares. Here, we connect it with an arc. And, of course, connect the 2 points. Square A8, B1, its lower part is 1/4, A8, B1, then half, then 1/4. From there, the line continues, about 1/4 on 1/4. Then moving down, 1/3, 1/4. The strand flows into the center of the lower square, about 1/3, then 1/4, then toward the intersection, slightly left, here. That's it for this strand. Now let's draw this part. It starts from the intersection of the top of the square and this strand that we just drew, and it ends, let's say, if this is the middle, somewhere at 3/4. So around here. Now we have a rough outline of the oval of the face and the hair. Let's mark where the neck will go and sketch the neck and hair. We also mark where the necklace is. The neck on the left begins from the chin. It goes almost straight down. Then the hair covers it at about 1/4. Let's finish this strand. Around the middle here. It may shift slightly, but we'll refine it when we draw the hair. It continues. 1/4. Then an arc going almost to the edge of the square, just short of it. On the left, about 1/3 approximately. Then it goes down. Here we can improvise. Maybe slightly more right, but we'll decide when we refine the hair. Now let's draw the ear, since we've reached this side. Here, the strand goes under the hair, and the ear peeks out. It's at about the center of the strand.
This will be approximately the center.
It curves this way. Here. That's in squares A9 and B3. A9, B3. Again, check carefully. If this is the center, then vertically, it's about 1/4.